Today on Made to Hack, I set fire to coals with a gun.
This is a Darkside PHLG 2000 D3 heat gun with 4 accessories for different operations such as paint removal, setting coals on fire, vinyl removal, and just general heat gun use. If you open it up, I have the heat gun, which I've already used a few times before this review. 2 power settings, 1 on, 2. It's got a 350 degrees C, 300 liters per minute for the first power, and then 550 degrees C, 500 liters a minute for the second option. So it comes with the accessories of, well, I guess the setting coals on fire, barbecuing, vinyl removal, paint stripping, I guess, and then just a more concentrated airflow. And of course, again, I bought the this heat gun at the supermarket, so it is a cheap supermarket tool that I'm going to give it a go. Aside from that, same old thing, fresh off the boat Chinesium, and I'm going to try to put it through its paces and see if it does everything it says on the box, such as removing paint, setting coals on fire, vinyl removal, and just general shop-related activities with the heat gun. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I picked it up for less than 20 euros. I think it was 15 euros, maybe 17 euros, something like that. So, all right, let's put it through its paces.
So what I'm doing here is essentially I am heating up the coals for a few minutes until they start to get bright red and then essentially ignite. It took about maybe 90 seconds per area of coals to start to catch on fire. My one complaint is that you have to, the area that they light is rather small, so you have to kind of go from one end to another here and there and set multiple areas on fire. It doesn't just go up at once. What I do here is essentially I just put in some scrap cardboard, some scrap wood, just to get an actual flame fire going so that it's more efficient as opposed to just setting individual coal on fire, I guess. I mean, it works, but it's rather inefficient to start a fire using this heat gun.
This is a cup of day-old shop coffee, currently at room temperature, which here in the shop is a balmy 17 degrees Celsius. And I've put it in this cup, which changes color as temperature goes up. So what I'm going to do is see if I could use this to warm up a cup of coffee by placing it in the vise. Clamp it down as such and heat it with the heat gun on the low setting, and we'll see how long it takes to warm this cup of coffee. Alright, so I'm going to turn it on and time the time it takes to warm this cup of coffee. Okay, so I'm going to stop it here for a second. The outside of the cup seems to get rather warm. The coffee is, well, the coffee is not quite warm yet. I guess I'm kind of warming the outside as opposed to the inside. So we'll give that a minute or so more. Okay, so again, warming up the cup of coffee. I think my methodology is flawed. Too much heat on the outside and not so much in the coffee liquid inside. Well, I mean, it's better, but you know, it's obviously an inefficient way of transferring heat through a ceramic cup. So maybe in a different setting, like this stainless steel martini shaker, perhaps, maybe it would transfer the heat better. But through a cup of coffee like this, not so good. I'm gonna put a question mark on the efficiency of warming up your shop cold coffee through the use of a heat gun. Okay, so I don't actually have anything that's got some old paint on it. I found this old piece of window in the rubbish that has a metallic frame that has been painted over many times, and maybe I'll try to see if this works for removing paint using this. I'm not really sure that's the way you're supposed to do that. I mean, is the heat supposed to melt off the paint? I'm not really sure. And make it easier to remove. I mean, here's a regular just, you know, a scraper that has a knife edge. And if you run that over in the cold section, I mean, it seems to do the same thing, if not even more efficiently. So maybe you're supposed to heat larger panels, or maybe if it's a thicker coat of paint, I'm not exactly sure. And in the instructions, they show them removing paint, I guess, from... I wonder if that's wood. I can't really tell. Let me try with a piece of wood, painted wood. Okay, so that seems to work better with on wood, or at least where you have, or maybe the paint is thicker, because it does heat the paint, which lifts off the surface, and then you get this gunky mess. It sort of hardens and crumbles away, and then obviously you would scrape it with the edge, well, with the metal edge. Now, it does warm the wood as well. I don't know if that's a concern or not. And also you are potentially warming up volatile chemicals that would have been used to seal the wood, or you know, depending on how old a piece of wood was. That's something that you should probably consider, but it seems to lift the paint pretty well. You know, I don't know if I'd necessarily would use it in such a matter, but it does then just kind of leave the ground open to maybe come through with your traditional scraper once the bulk of the material has been removed. But probably use this in a well ventilated area and make sure not to set the wood on fire. Okay, last test, removing vinyl. Alright, so that's it for the Dark Side PHLG 2000 D3 cheap supermarket heat gun. It does everything it says on the box. It removes paint from wood. It does set fire to coals rather inefficiently. It does remove vinyl, even though I didn't really have much vinyl to remove. It doesn't, however, really warm up a cup of coffee unless it's a steel or aluminum cup, which of course it doesn't actually say that on the box, but yeah, so for under 20 euros it's perfectly acceptable as a Chinesium heat gun. I'm sure it's just as good as any other Chinesium heat gun you could buy for this price. And I mean, after all, yeah, it's just a coil resistance wire and a fan. I mean, there's nothing much wrong that could go with it. One interesting thing I did notice was that the importer was Grizzly Tools Germany. I don't know if that's the same Grizzly Tools that import Chinesium tools that you find on eBay or in the United States. I don't know if they have any relations whatsoever. I did find the name coincidence rather interesting, but anyway, that's enough for this cheap supermarket tool heat gun. Yeah, it works.
Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Also, make sure to turn on notifications to receive updates whenever I post a new video. If you like what you saw, hit that like button as well.